I'm putting on my socks. Maybe we should do a whole show about socks.
Okay.
That's a good topic.
Yeah, that's good. Wait, is this working now? So, yeah. Oh, there. Ready? I have a joke. Do you want to hear a joke? Welcome to One Topic, where we stick to one topic. My name is Autumn Fisher.
My name is Greg Russ. Should I let people finish? I can't speak. I'm like that woman you had me listen to who had the aneurysm. The aneurysm she had on the newscast. You still have that thing pulled up?
I do.
What did they say it was? It was a migraine.
It was a migraine aura.
Branson is live at the Staples Center with highlights and backstage coverage we're seeing for the very first time. Sari.
Well, a very, very heavy rotation tonight. We had a very Darrison bite. Let's go to Terry's and look for the bit. They have the pit.
That's how I started the show. That was that was my start to the show today.
Are you having a migraine aura?
Yes, that's what I'm going to tell everyone. It wasn't me getting nervous and freaking out or anything like that. It was a migraine aura. Usually they're visual auras, but this was a migraine aura.
Was she sitting there? Was she standing there ready to do her newscasting or whatever with a migraine? Or is it something that happens before a migraine comes?
I have no clue.
I've only had one migraine, I think, in my life.
I wasn't even familiar with that clip until you played it for me. There's too much to track. There's a lot to track on the internet. I was going to say, though, to start the show, what I was trying to say was, should I let you finish your joke for the audience? I don't really care myself to hear the punchline because it really puts the pressure on me. At that point, you say a joke. I feel pressure to laugh. It also makes you feel bad. We have a whole show to do. But maybe the audience wants to hear the joke. I could mute I could mute my headphones so I don't.
Well, it doesn't matter. You don't have to laugh. Jokes that when you start, like, hey, you want to hear a joke? Typically, if you're a regular person and you're telling your friend a joke, you're not like waiting for them to die laughing. You're just like, hey, this is kind of a clever thing I heard. Let me repeat it to you.
It's similar to, hey, look at this thing. Watch this. I love this. Yeah. This is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. It means so much to me. Best thing. It means so much to me. And then you watch it and you're like, if I don't react properly, you're going to dismiss your whole existence because
that's projection.
If somebody says that this is the greatest thing I've ever seen, it has influenced the way I'm going to live my life moving forward and makes me question every decision I've made leading up until this point. And then you watch it and you get nothing out of it. What is going to happen?
Well, that's a huge responsibility to put on someone else.
Exactly. That's why I shy away. Because people,
but a joke is not that.
People who fancy themselves funny, if they don't get the laugh, a lot of times when the value is placed in the joke and the humor, my sense of humor, I'm a funny person. This is how I maneuver the world. By bringing smiles to people's faces. Like that's where your worth comes from. So what's the joke? I've got my busy signal ready.
Well, this is a great way to start a joke. With this lead up, I'm going to play the busy signal when it's done. What about the laughter? What about the laugh track? Do you have that?
I think that one got deleted.
Oh man, that's what I need.
So,
all right, a Mexican magician said, "Okay, I'm going to make myself disappear. You ready?" Person says yes. And he goes, "Uno, dos," and then he disappeared without a trace. Fucking hate you. Why'd you wait so long?
Because it was better that way.
You're the worst.
It was better.
All right, let's talk about our topic.
I don't like you appropriating another language like that for the laughter at the expense of. Spanish is problematic because it has gender attached to it. We should rip it apart and reinvent the whole language. It offends me every time I hear somebody speak Spanish. La.
Mm-hmm. La.
El.
El. Yay!
That was for me.
No, that was for me.
No.
They just got it.
No.
They had to look up. They had to look it up. They're like, why do you say 3 again in Spanish? Is that the and then they're like, oh, Trey.
This one's for you.
Again?
Worst crickets in the world. Listen to
Really
this.
bad crickets.
This is a preset on this mixer I bought.
Those are like animatronic crickets. How hard is it to get cricket sounds? That could be like baby birds.
It could be.
Play it behind like that morning song. It's like a classical song.
Play it 3 times the current speed and you'll learn the meaning of life.
I've never heard of this trend. So Greg was saying, I don't know if you were recording.
Stop the 3 times trend.
3 times trend is something where they speed it up or slow it down 3 times.
It's just something that's played and it says, holy shit, if you listen to this 3 times fast or slower, either one, it could be either.
Okay.
Faster or slower if you speed it up. You'll be blown away at the result.
Well, you know how they do, you know, probably why they're doing that is so that you listen to it over and over.
Yeah, of course.
So you can try and get whatever they're trying to get you to get. And then they just get a ton of views.
They just rack them up. It's also set on repeat anyway. This is on Instagram. It tends to pop up where the video.
All the things are on repeat on TikTok and on Instagram.
Yes.
And Instagram is just.
So is that an extra
recycling
view
stuff from TikTok?
Is that an extra view at that point because it just automatically goes into it again?
Yes.
No, that's shit.
I think.
That is absolute trash. I don't want to get into social media again because it comes up a lot on this show. But, let me say, it's trash.
Okay.
Okay, what do you got?
About what?
What do you got about today's show, the topic, the misleading topic that you want to introduce because you really just want to talk about a man who got stuck in a cave and died?
Well, I don't want to necessarily. That's not why I want. I just mentioned that because it was part of what we could use as a topic, which was gravity.
You said, let's talk about gravity. There's a guy who got stuck in a cave.
Yeah, because that's what made me think of what's going on.
I think you should talk about the 2013 film, Gravity. 96% on the tomato meter.
Is it really? What's the critic rating?
That's the tomato meter. The audience score is 79%.
Oh.
The Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock and George Clooney.
Yeah. Great acting from George Clooney.
That was good
Such
acting.
an actor. What has he ever been good in?
Have you ever had to act in space?
No, I have not.
It's very difficult, and you have to keep that charming demeanor while you're floating in space in zero gravity. You know, they pushed.
Sandra Bullock would have been dead 20 times in that movie.
No, but it was.
She takes a fucking, what is it, a fire extinguisher and directs herself in space to get to some other little thing.
What do you think the space shuttle did? It had little bursts of fire extinguisher.
That's what those bursts are? They're just fire extinguishers?
Yes, it's the same thing. You're missing the whole point of that movie. It's about God. It's about finding God.
Rebirth.
It's about, and that's part of it, finding God. Christianity, which it's not about. It's just about spirituality, but people hijacked it and said, see, Jesus is real.
What? I didn't know it had a Christian following.
Oh, it's big in the Christian community.
Really?
Because of her journey.
Because she's reborn onto Earth?
She's reborn onto Earth, and everything's been reframed, and she trusts in a higher power and survival and belief or
higher
themes.
power is herself.
No. Because
it's George Clooney.
No, like you said.
Doesn't he come back from the dead to like chat with her about something?
And when she's hallucinating, when she's having a migraine.
An aura.
Yeah. When she can't speak properly.
It's a teleportation.
You have to give her some credit. Acting alone is a difficult thing to do. She's alone in most of that movie.
I'm not talking about their act. I'm not talking about Sandra Bullock's acting. I'm talking about George Clooney and how he's never not George Clooney. And somehow he's this gigantic celebrity just because he's kind of handsome. He's not like the most handsome person I've ever seen in my life. I just don't understand his celebrity. And then that movie is stupid as fuck.
Well, I think Rotten Tomatoes and the critics, they disagree. 96%.
They're all just like laughing and making little jokes and like listening to music while they're doing important space work.
What do you think? People go up there and they're serious all the time, like Neil Armstrong? That guy was a freak. That's why he was like that. But the things changed.
I don't know anything about Neil Armstrong really, except that he seems like a jerk.
He wasn't, he had issues. He had problems. His daughter died very young, and he was never able to process that properly. He just bottled it all up. And I think he had a secret death wish, but he wasn't, some people when they're in that spot and they don't know what they want or how to get to a place of happiness. And I use that term, it's broad, but to get through something traumatic, sometimes they become really reckless and they start stealing and they use drugs and whatever. That's a path that some people take. He just did it in a more socially acceptable way, where he's like, I'm going to become
like a productive way.
Yes, I'm going to become an astronaut. I'm just going to take this very seriously. It was like one of the times when he was doing some test flight of the lunar lander, and it was turning sideways and about to crash, and he ejected. And if he had taken another second before he ejected, he would have died. And after it was over, he was just in his office doing his work. And people were like, oh my God, Neil. He's like, nah, it's just part of a day's work. So things evolve is the point. At first, you had people who took it very seriously. And then once it becomes a little more commonplace, you get the astronauts who go up and they have a good time. They joke.
I'm sure they're joking when they're inside.
They try to have
the work is done, or if like the transition between jobs. But when you're out on a spacewalk, they're constantly communicating with the ground and with each other and like explaining exactly what they're doing.
I like the contrast.
They've tested it 1 billion times underwater in that big swimming pool.
I like the contrast it paints because it's a very big thing, like you said, and very serious and very scary. Yet it's just lighthearted when it comes from George Clooney because that's the kind of guy he is. And maybe you have to have that kind of mentality to do that because if you're overthinking it, bad things are going to happen. But if you're there just cracking little quips and making references to pop culture, great.
So stupid.
It reframes the whole thing. It seems inaccessible to the common folk going to space and doing such a thing. But when you see, hey, that guy's like my dad.
Why are you dying on this hill?
He's a goofball. He's a goofball.
Why do you love George Clooney so much?
The same way you can't answer why he's famous. I can't answer why I like him. But I think those two come together. That's why he's famous. That's something that we can't touch.
It is kind of interesting, those movies where the beginning of it is a tone that's being set and you're on the ride for that with that tone. You're like, oh, without seeing the trailer, right? Because then if you've watched the trailer, then you know that there's going to be some explosions and drama. But without that, if you're watching it, you're like, oh, what a fun little time we're having. And then bam, curveball. I don't know what happens. Was it space debris or was it like what fucks them up?
I think it was some kind of space debris.
Rogue satellite?
I only saw it once, and I didn't really have a desire to see it again.
You know what I tried to watch recently? This is totally off topic. Was City Slickers.
And
oh boy, was it bad.
I don't even know if I've ever seen City Slick. I saw the second one.
Me too. I think that my parents loved the first one, and then we watched the second one on like HBO with his brother. Morgan Fairchild. What's his name? John. Is it John?
You're on your own with this one.
You don't know his name?
No. When do I know anyone's name?
The critic.
Lovitz?
Yes, John Lovitz. Thank you.
Well, the critic referenced that. When do I know anyone's name? I'm the worst when it comes to names.
Me too.
I can't.
Anyway.
I can't tell you celebrities' names. Like even the popular ones, their names slip my mind quite often, and I'm not doing it on purpose. Sometimes I do it on purpose because what an insult that is. What an insult when you tell a person who thinks that they're famous or they are famous that you don't know who they are. That's the best. That's the greatest thing you can do to put them in their place. But I don't watch movies. Oh, what are they going to say at that point?
Oh.
I don't want who?
Anyway, City Slickers was so dumb.
George Clooney.
So full. All right, we're done with it.
I'm not done with George, the intangible George Clooney.
Ugh.
Why is he famous? Because he's got that beautiful face.
Yes, he is. He's handsome. Big deal.
It gets
I guess
plenty
it
of
was the 90s.
It gets plenty of people, plenty of places, just being good looking. But he's got the added benefit of being a man because when he ages,
Well, and he's charming as fuck. Like him always being that same character. At least that character is likable and seems. It's like an understated charm, or maybe not understated, but like a natural. It's not.
Yeah, it's seamless. It's very.
Yeah.
It comes very naturally.
Excuse me. At the bar last night, I was sitting with my friend and this guy who was known at the bar where we were.
Does he call himself the George Clooney of the bar?
No, but everybody called him Daddy.
Ew.
Not like Daddy.
That doesn't matter.
Like, yeah, we're his kids. Like there was a joke about him
That's
being
still
dad.
disgusting.
Like, Dad,
that's gross.
relieving Dad.
I don't like it, but okay.
Okay, whatever. And he kept subtly trying to hit on me, like by not giving me any room where I'm sitting. You know, like continuously trying to push up next to me and then making jokes that I keep hitting him with my hair because I have my like ponytail up or
yeah, you're invading
we're
his
talking or
space.
laughing.
He invades your space and then he makes the
He
joke.
did.
You're invading my space. He turns it on you.
Well, yeah, and I kept like, yeah, exactly.
Why are
And
you
then,
so close to me? You're hitting me with your hair.
Right.
You must want this dick. I think that's what
I continued to not
fucking
give
idiot.
him anything. And I kept asking him like to move over. Could you move over?
Did he get offended?
No, but he did seem to like stop having such a good time.
Yeah, because he bruised his ego.
And then there was this old man who was there and he was dancing with like some of the women that were there and he like asked to dance with me. I was like, no. And
Then he called you
like,
a bitch.
come on, come dance with me. I was like, no, thanks. And it felt really good to not do something because I didn't want to instead of just doing it because it's like, he's an old man. Who cares? It's like, no, I don't want to do that. But it was also gross.
He didn't turn on you at that point, though. Did he just accept your no and leave it at that?
No, he did.
and
He
move
was
on?
fine. It was
Right.
twice, though. I had to tell him no.
I mean, that's nice, though, because quite often I feel like dudes expect you to say yes, even if they ask. That's it.
Yeah.
Your answer doesn't really matter at that point. If you do say no, then they're going to call you a bitch. They're going to insult you. They're going to call you fat and ugly.
Yeah. He was an old man, like short and old. And he had, what are they called? Like tzatzes or something? Those, like what the Jewish people wear around their belt, or it's like their vest that has the strings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that thing. He was wearing that. And my friend Susanna kept pointing them out and talking to the people around us, like, what are those? I was like, they're a religious thing. She kept like grabbing them. I was like, don't touch them.
They're so weird. Look at that fucking weirdo.
Look at those she's not familiar.
Things. I know,
Plus,
but
she was drunk.
I feel as though it's like asking is one thing, but then like going around to the whole bar, which I know she didn't do, but in my mind, when you're telling the story, she went to every person in the bar, interrupted conversation. Like, look at that man and those ropes that are hanging.
Let's point at him.
What a weirdo. And then he asks if she wants to dance. And she says no. And he says, you fucking pig.
Yeah, you freak.
Dudes.
String freak.
It is absolutely insane. I'm sure you've experienced it some. It's like guys present themselves as these thoughtful, nice creatures. Like certain guys. And then the moment that you reject them, even if you're polite about it, you're like, oh, no, thanks. They just switch like immediately and start throwing the insults out. Yeah, I get it. It sucks to be rejected. It's embarrassing if you put yourself out there because maybe you were nervous to begin with and someone says no. But it's yours. That's your responsibility at that point. Instead of throwing it back on the other person. It's like, you made me feel bad, so I'm going to make you feel bad. You fucking smell, you whore.
Well, they're children.
They are, but
That's
it's
children
like...
behave.
Yeah, but it's like... It's not fair of like a woman to be treated like that.
I agree.
It's like they made the choice to put themselves out there. So that was firmly in their court. And there's a chance, there's risk, a repercussion as you get rejected possibly. So no one forced that on you. You decided to do that. And then the moment you decided to do that and the other person didn't give you what you want, they didn't ask to be put in that situation. So for you to then make them feel bad, it's a shitty thing to do.
There's a lot of times too, if you reject politely, then they push on and they almost force you to reject them harshly.
Well, there's this idea that you don't know, right?
It's like gaslighting.
Yeah, there's this idea you don't know what you want. Yeah, you just don't know, or you're playing hard to get. It's like, no, I know. I know exactly what I want. It's not you.
Yeah, I'm good.
Stay the fuck away. If it were George Clooney, though, did you see Up in the Air? Man, what a vulnerable performance by George in that movie.
Oh, was that where he was a flight attendant?
No, he was a man who flew around the country firing other people. His job was to...
I did not care about that movie at all.
That was a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
It was pretty ridiculous in certain ways because he met that woman who also traveled a lot. And,
right, yeah.
And it turns out he puts himself out there. He's been closed off for so long, and he goes to find her at her house, and she answers the door, but she's got a husband and kids.
Oh, God.
But which, fine. Except for the fact she went to his sister's wedding, like went to do this very personal thing. And then she acted like he was an idiot for thinking it was something more. You thought this was something more than us just hooking up, you fucking moron. You almost destroyed my life. I have a family. Hey, how about you don't go to a man's sister's wedding in a remote location and visit his family and explore his past? Like they went to his childhood school or something. They did these things that are very bonding. Yeah. So that part didn't really work for me. Sure, it made her...
Well, it's just more opportunity for George Clooney to be charming and then also to be so sad.
Well, it's a setup. It's a cheap setup. If you want to do that so it hits harder, because you know this man has a hard time opening up, and then he is opening up by introducing her to his family and running through his history, fine. But then doing it in a way that makes zero sense, because that person probably wouldn't have gone in the first place if they had a family. Maybe they would have. Some people are psychopaths. But more than likely they wouldn't have. So it just feels cheap. It's like, okay,
yeah,
you did that to make me care about him more and realize that he was risking things, and then it hits harder.
Yeah, cheap writing.
It was cheap. I feel like there were other ways to do it. Maybe there weren't. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe they were stuck. Maybe they should have rethought the whole script anyway.
Maybe they were just like, hey, this is a great way to do this. Let's just do it. Who cares?
So you had, I mean, a lot of movies do that. And I think that's why they get bad reviews sometimes, which is fair. It's like, hey, people are willing to suspend disbelief, and you're allowed to, I think you bend the rules when you go into a movie. Some people maybe are allowing the rules to be bent more than others, but you open yourself up and you accept the rules of the world the movie is putting forth. You're like, okay, these are the rules of this world. Those aren't the same rules of our world, but I'm allowing this. And then if within that world they break their own rules or things don't make sense within their own logic, hey, fuck you. Come on. That's where it falls apart.
Too much work for the audience.
Well, it just doesn't make sense. It in a weird way, it's like being betrayed on a low level. You don't carry it with you, but like, hey, I gave you the opportunity I gave you my trust. I said, I'm going to allow you to do your thing. And I let go. And then you pulled the rug out from under me.
Yeah. That's everywhere in so many movies. And I think that's without realizing, even if you don't realize it, you can walk out of a movie not being able to enjoy it as much or not be able to understand it, as much as you'd want to. And it's because it breaks its own rules, or it sets you up for something and your brain gets comfortable with that. And then they, like you said, they kind of like betray that.
Well, it's very hard to do it properly. So everything fits. That's why movies that do it well, I don't know if they deserve all the praise. Like it is a feat, and it's a cool thing, and it took a lot of work from a lot of people. Does it deserve to be on such a pedestal in our world? I don't know. That's a different argument. But in the world of filmmaking, it's like, yeah.
It's a form of art.
Yeah, it can be. It's also a form of money making.
And it's also a form of garbage, which is also entertaining
Sure.
in its own way.
Anyway, City Slickers sucked, and that was your review.
I didn't know that hello came from that movie.
I think
That's his like catchphrase through the movie.
I think Billy Crystal's somewhat overrated.
I think that he was at this point in the 90s like that, it seems like he's a caricature of Billy Crystal. You know, like making little jokes. Habada, 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 da-da-da-da-da-da, always sounding the same. Whereas if you think about him in When Harry Met Sally, he was still Billy Crystal, but he was also like a normal human and not just like a quip machine.
How many movies did he do that were actually good? When Harry Met Sally. Forget Paris. Sucks.
That was the absolute worst.
Forget that movie.
Forget him forever.
Mr. Saturday Night. Do you like that?
I don't think I've seen that. He's a funny comedian. I remember watching those Billy Crystal, Robin Williams, Whoopi Goldberg comedy aid, whatever.
That's fair, but just movie wise.
Yeah.
I don't, because he's there. He's hosted the Oscars a million times. It's how did you get here? Again.
Oh, what about all of the voices, like the Monsters Inc.'s?
Okay, but that's not really a Billy Crystal vehicle, I'd say.
Yeah.
My Giant. I don't know
what was My Giant.
I don't know, but the poster's got him standing next to a very tall man. A man who's probably like 8 feet tall. Analyze that and analyze this.
There's two of those. There's that and this.
I didn't know
That's
either.
hilarious.
Anyway, what does this have to do with gravity? Nothing. It has zero to do. I know I set us on this path by talking about the movie Gravity, but you just want to talk about...
Well, you know what I did? Instead of watching the rest of City Slickers was I turned on... Oh my God, he was in Princess Bride and he was awesome. But again, not a Billy Crystal vehicle.
No.
To Blade.
Yeah, we can give him that role.
What's that?
We can give him that role. Like, yeah, that was good, but Throw Mama from the Train. You like that one?
I have never really seen it. I've only seen parts of it. You don't have a cousin.
It's the lady from Goonies, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh. I was going to say, I stopped watching City Slickers and I turned on My Blue Heaven.
And?
I fucking love My Blue Heaven. I've seen it before. I was trying to watch something I haven't seen. I don't know. It's stupid. But Daniel Stern is in both movies. So I had like a little Daniel Stern movie night. Do you know who Daniel Stern is?
I know who Daniel Stern is.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, you don't know the name, so I thought maybe you weren't sure.
I know Daniel Stern.
What are you doing, Mauve?
I better know Daniel Stern, considering we did 2 episodes dedicated to Home Alone.
Did I get him? That's my favorite part.
All right, well...
When he's going to kill that spider, he's like, Mauve, what are you doing, Mauve?
And you wanted to talk about a man who was stuck in a cave and died because gravity pulled blood to his lungs and head.
Well, I just thought it was interesting that somebody, if you're upside down for too long, like the gravity of you being upside down because you're upside down kills you. Because
we evolved very specifically for the gravity of this planet in a certain position, upright for us, not upside down.
And then also we were talking about outer space. The people in outer space have to do all this work to not turn into goo if they come back home.
They still can't really avoid it. You have no resistance, so you can't work out your muscles. And if you're up there,
don't they put weighted things on them and then run on a treadmill or something?
That doesn't even make sense to me because you still don't have weight. Doesn't mean anything.
Oh fuck, you're right.
And anti-gravity, zero gravity. Not anti-gravity, zero gravity.
What's the difference?
I don't know. Anti-gravity sounds like antimatter. I don't know if there's an actual anti-gravity, but it sounds like some mysterious state of being. I was like, that's anti-gravity. But I don't know if that's a real thing or not.
Yeah, I don't either.
So I just wanted to say zero gravity to hedge my statement.
That makes more sense.
I'll do a quick search. Anti-gravity. All right, it's the same.
Okay.
So I was all right.
Anti-gravity seems like you've removed the gravity, whereas zero gravity seems like there's just no gravity there.
I'm just double checking, but yes, it seems to be the same.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, you put a 1,000-pound weight on a person, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, duh. I feel like an idiot for saying that. Do they like strap themselves down? They must. There must be some contraption that keeps them on the machine, first of all.
No, because they get weak. The one man who stayed in space for so long, he comes back to Earth and he's very weak.
Yes, but they have to do exercises while they're up there.
You can get your heart pumping, I guess.
No, they have a treadmill.
Well, that's probably cardiovascular workouts.
It's about their muscles. I mean, their heart also, but it's because they have to keep their muscles strong and their bones shrink or some shit. But yeah, the guy that was up there for like a year or whatever, he has that twin brother. And man, I would be mad if I was the twin that didn't go, because you know that he has to like constantly get tested so that because they're trying to compare each other and see what's changed, what's different about them. And that poor guy who wasn't in space, now he's like every week having to go through, some military style base to get to some buildings to get tested and poked and prodded.
His DNA changed.
Yeah, because of the radiation.
He had a twin brother and they don't match anymore.
Right.
The Advanced Resistive Exercise Device is an exercise device designed by NASA to allow for more intense workouts in zero gravity. It still doesn't say what it does. I don't see how muscles are built through resistance. And I don't know how you introduce resistance.
Well, let's say, just for example, if you have an elastic, right? And you adhere that to your body, and then you attach it to the floor and you make it tight, then you can increase resistance that way.
Yeah, that's true. So that it works on that mechanism. Because the gravity is used as resistance on Earth with weights. Right. That's providing the resistance. So yeah, having something where the resistance is built in instead.
You need a resistance band.
Yeah, like some kind of hydraulic arm that has...
That you have to arm wrestle every day.
I mean, think about that. If there was a hydraulic arm that was a fake arm, you arm wrestled and it required a certain amount of force to move. Yeah. So then, okay.
And then the arm becomes sentient and then it turns on you.
Just the arm.
Just the arm.
That's called...
And it breaks.
That's gravity
arm.
too.
George Clooney's revenge.
Yes. Sandra Bullock has become a minister down on Earth. And she talks about a higher being and people think she's crazy. Like, come on, get over yourself. You've taken this too far, Sandra. This is absolutely insane now.
Wait, that's for real?
No. I'm just saying in Gravity 2, this is what happens. And then this arm comes from space and wreaks havoc on the planet. And then people think, oh, she's right. There is something that we don't understand, something bigger than us.
Sometimes the arm helps. Like it's up there and it's doing good. It's also arm wrestling people and getting their arms, keeping their muscles strong. But something happens and they don't know how to fix it. And the robot arm goes out of program and doop, 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 beep, like R2-D2 when he like opens up his little thing and like puts things inside of other things. That's what the robot arm does. And they're like, wow, robot arm, what's going on? But then also robot arm is killing people in space.
I like the idea. You think of a scene in a movie where somebody is struggling with something and then an arm comes into the scene. And
just an arm.
Yeah, or maybe someone's like fallen on the ground and they need help getting up and an arm comes into frame and like someone helps lift them up. You're like, oh, look at that.
I'm picturing robot arm.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Okay. So we use that type of setup where someone's on the ground and an arm comes in and like, oh, thank you. But then a robot arm turns on them and strangles them.
That's right. And like maybe that same person is in trouble again. And like robot arm, and then robot arm comes and the person who's in trouble thinks that robot arm's going to help them. And then robot arm chokes them out. And
then the computer that controls robot arm is in space. So Sandra Bullock has to go back to space despite the fact that she said she would never go to space.
She's only one. She's been up there. She knows what it's like.
And ultimately what happens is while she's up there trying to disable the computer that controls robot arm obviously comes up and there's a big fight and George Clooney floats by. His dead body, his corpse from space.
It's frozen.
And she grabs it and his arm breaks off, and she uses that to beat a robot arm.
Awesome. You know how she escapes Earth's gravity? You know how she goes up to space? She just straps a bunch of fire extinguishers around her waist and points them all down.
Hey,
Sets them off.
that makes sense. I was reading about, I had this idea that with climate change and sea level rising, it's like, why don't we just put like a giant straw into space? Because if it's connected to the ocean and then it's up in space, that'll act as a vacuum and it'll pull the water out. We can do that as needed and get rid of some of the water and just launch it into space. But it turns out that wouldn't work. And it makes sense why, but air pressure.
There's too much gravity holding water in.
Yeah, I mean, there's gravity and there's pressure. Drinking through a straw, like you're changing the pressure, and the pressure pushing down on the liquid when you're sucking in changes within the straw, which allows it to shoot up through the straw. And people have made the point that the length straw we drink out of, that's great. That works perfectly. But if you put a drink on the ground and a straw up at the top of the Empire State Building and tried to drink through that straw, there'd just be no way you can do it, because at some point the pressures balance out. Like you could get the liquid to go up into the straw some.
Right, yeah.
But at that point, it would require too much pressure or lack of pressure, a difference in pressure for it to go any higher. So therefore, my theory of getting rid of excess water wouldn't work, which is
we
a
need
shame.
Mega Maid from Spaceballs with her giant vacuum.
She was just stealing atmosphere, though, right? Or everything. I guess she
Air.
sucked up.
She was stealing the air.
Yeah, but trees got sucked up.
Yeah, and like the tops of mountains and things.
But I was hoping that would work. I had
air.
I had the solve, but nope.
It's a good start. What if we just got a lot of straws?
It wouldn't work. It's impossible. It just can't happen.
Yeah.
It can't happen.
Excess water. What if we just drill a hole down and so the water has a place to go and fills that space?
Why don't we extinguish the core of the earth? We put so much water down.
Well, you wouldn't drink. Well, you couldn't go that far.
Well, why wouldn't
Might
we?
be helpful. Maybe like, you know what you should do? Oh my God. We should be drilling like big holes, like make gigantic deep lakes near volcanoes, around volcanoes. So like when they go off, instead of rolling lava into like the town, it just rolls into the moat.
Yes, a volcano moat. I think we've exhausted our hypothetical.
You make a little trail
I think
from wherever there's too much water down to the lake.
We're pushing, and we've exhausted our allocation of hypothetical, asinine, insane.
You can use gravity.
Hypothetical. Look, with the robot arm and volcano moats, we're done for this episode. No more.
All right, you know what? I think that robot arm eventually learns that humans are.
I'm done.
That humans need our help. Need his help. Need its help. The birds. Are there birds? This is our audience is hung up.
That's a good sound effect. I feel like I'm surprised more people didn't use it.
With the call?
Yeah, it serves the same purpose as like crickets or something. It's just a little spin on it, an updated version. Well, an outdated updated version, because nobody hears that anymore.
I know. You know what I missed? That. We're sorry.
People don't hear this anymore. There's going to be a whole group of people who have no clue.
Dial tone? What's that?
You can hear, because it's coming out of my phone. I was just holding the phone up to the microphone. You can hear my phone hit it at the very beginning, hit the microphone. You hear it?
Oh, that's funny.
Oops.
That's like that thing during the weather on the radio where that person sniffs. Do you know that?
No.
During the like, bum, 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 or like during the weather sounder.
I remember the Weather Channel severe weather alerts. Those were pretty frightening.
What'd that sound like?
It was a scary sound.
I miss the Weather Channel. Hold on, before I go there, listen to the music while Christina Edwards is talking about the weather, and there's a
I do think I know what you're talking about on WSB. I thought this was like some national weather alert thing.
Oh no, it's been there for years and years. Anyway,
why is the
Weather
sniff
Channel,
there? Why don't they get rid of the sniff?
I don't know. Jared's. I talked to him about it once. He was like, "Oh my God, I know." He said, I pointed it out to Pete and whoever, and they didn't.
They didn't care.
Just somebody sniffed while they were putting it, like recording it from one end to another, I think. And they didn't realize their mic was on. But anyway, the point is, I want to talk about the Weather Channel and how much I miss. God, I would.
This has nothing to do with gravity.
And I don't care.
Talk about the man. Talk about.
And now, your local forecast. Accurate, up-to-date weather information for your neighborhood. Only on the Weather Channel.
Sunday, April 7th, 1996. Atlantic City, 36 degrees, cloudy. Philadelphia, 37 degrees, light rain. Wilmington, 38 degrees, cloudy. I want to see the map so we can know what was going on in Atlanta. Tonight, cloudy with a chance of a flurry or sprinkle. Man, back when it used to snow in April, the world has changed.
Because of gravity. I would sometimes turn on the Weather Channel just to take a nap.
I hear stories from the old timers who live in the Northeast. When they're talking about when they're kids, there was harsh winters with big snowstorms constantly. Now there's nothing. It's 80 degrees in February.
That's not true. It's not 80 degrees.
It was. It was 80 degrees in one February a couple years ago.
That was a freak accident, though. Ooh. Now we're in Donkey Kong country.
Just give me the national forecast and you can talk about how you would sleep to the Weather Channel. Yeah, until the severe weather thing popped up.
Well, do you remember how the music would change if the weather was bad? It would sound like a little bit more ominous.
Yeah. They had to set the mood and the tone. You can't have upbeat music when a tornado is bearing down.
And I swear there was one time when they were playing something from the album Wish You Were Here from Pink Floyd as the background music, and I freaked out and I loved it so much.
There's an advertisement, scrolling advertisement, text only at the bottom. Michael Whitman wants to buy old jewelry, watches, clocks, sterling, European silver, old paintings, pens, music boxes, antique furniture, Chinese and Japanese porcelain.
Tell me the phone number.
Oriental rugs, quilts, old lamps, boxes, tea caddies. If you're the formatting is all off, sometimes there's commas separating the different items. Sometimes there's not. Sometimes there's a comma in the wrong place. The period after this is 3 spaces after the last letter.
Is there a phone number?
If you have anything old to sell, call 215-646-8639. I don't know where that's going to go. I don't advise anyone to prank phone call. But again, that number. If you have any of these items to call Michael Whitman. Tell him that you saw his advertisement on the Weather Channel. 215-646-8639. Best rates in Philadelphia. I guarantee it.
Rates.
All right. They're not giving us the national.
I tried to call this number. It's not. Nothing's happening.
Yeah, maybe it's done.
I'm not even getting the doo-doo-doo.
The man lost his business.
Do I have to put a 1 in front of it? No.
No, I don't think you would have to. Look, it's an old number. Maybe
somebody has it.
That's what you think. That old 215, that's like the 404 of Philadelphia. It's hard to get these days.
It says Ambler, PA.
It was landlines, and I bet a lot of those landlines, like they didn't assign it. You can get it on cell. You can, like, I have a 212 cell number, but it's still not handed out. For whatever reason, the old landlines. In Atlanta, I know they did that with cells, but Atlanta didn't have that many people at one point. You got a cell phone, they gave you the 404.
I think that in Loganville, we were 770.
I was, where I live too, my landline was 770. I remember
really?
before.
That's so far away from where.
You think Loganville is any closer to Atlanta than Kennesaw was?
No, it's just surprising that maybe, I guess I'm thinking of, excuse me. Hold on. Sorry. I guess I was thinking that of the Atlanta that it is now, thinking that there would need to be more area codes.
There wasn't even an area code when I first moved there. Our number was just.
Oh, that's right. There wasn't. That's why I can't hardly remember if it was 770 or not.
It was just 4225. I'm not going to say the rest. Someone still has that number, I guess.
Mine was 9724.
That's what it sounded like when you dialed it. I remember.
Mine's I know all my cousins' old houses numbers.
What the fuck does this have to do with a man in a cave dying of gravity?
No. Life. People living their lives.
See?
Fun.
You wanted to tell a story. You wanted to talk about this man.
You started it by talking about movies.
Well, gravity. I was trying to set up the topic. Gravity. I mean, if we're talking about movies, remember Superman 2 when that stupid kid is at Niagara Falls on the other side of the railing?
I don't think which one was that? Was that the one where the bad guys came back from that triangle?
Yes. But
okay.
But there's a kid in Niagara Falls. His parents are these bumbling idiots. His dad's fumbling with a map and his mom's shoving cotton candy into her mouth. And the kid's like, Mom, look, hey, look at me. And the mom's like, yeah, cool, honey. And the kid's on the other side of the railing doing this thing where like he's got one hand on and he takes that hand off and quickly puts the other hand on, grabs onto the railing. And if he slips, he falls into Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, standing right next to them, you have Lois Lane and Clark Kent. And Lois Lane's just taking pictures with her camera of the food stand. And Clark is like, why aren't you taking pictures of the falls? And she's like, nothing impresses me after you've seen Superman up close. And
I guess.
And then Superman goes to get her a hot dog and orange juice. And then the kid falls, obviously. And then Superman shows up and saves him. This is where she starts to put it together because she's a real sleuth, a real good reporter. That Clark Kent, Superman, never around at the same time. Oh, that he kind of looks like Superman without those glasses. But then
she
he does
wanted a hot dog and orange juice.
Yeah, I know, freshly squeezed orange juice.
Ew, what a horrible combo! That
her,
gives me like acid reflux.
That was her demand. And then they're in this weird hotel room that has like a pink bear rug. I don't know how I remember all of this. And he trips. And his hand goes into the fire, and she realizes he hasn't been burned. Oh, before that, because she's trying to prove that he's Superman, and he won't admit it. She says, Superman would never let me die, so she jumps into like the rushing river.
Damn, she's like real confident that he's Superman.
And then he's so determined not to reveal his identity that he doesn't save her, and she just luckily kind of floats off to the side, and he jumps in as Clark Kent, tripping and falling and pulls her out.
Yeah.
So that is insane in its own right. And then he trips, he falls in the fire, his hand gets burned. She realizes it's him. He admits it. But then he does something to erase her memory, which is...
What? Does he spin the earth around or something?
That's when he brings her back to life after she gets crushed by that.
She's buried, which I loved that scene when she's getting like buried by all that dirt.
So I don't remember how he erases her memory, but she doesn't let it go. So even the Lois Lane, who's had her memory erased, is still on with this.
Okay.
She's like, "You're Superman, I know it." So she pulls the same
like bonker on the head.
Well, she pulls the same fucking stunt where she says Superman would never let me die, and she jumps out the building of what's the paper they work for? I can't remember. The Daily Bugle's Spider-Man, right?
Herald?
I can't remember. Whatever. The paper they work for.
Okay.
She jumps out of the top floor building. I don't know if they're the top, but she's high enough up. And then he rushes down and blows from the ground to keep her falling from. So this ties into gravity. He slows the force of gravity with his breath. And so she's falling a little more slowly. And then he shoots some lasers out and opens an awning, whatever tie is holding.
Lasers?
Yeah, whatever tie is holding the awning back. He shoots his lasers, it unfurls.
Does he have laser eyes?
Yeah, he can shoot lasers out of his eyes.
I thought he could just see through stuff. I didn't think he had laser eyes.
No, he has laser eyes. Certainly has laser eyes.
Not in the first one.
He has laser eyes. Maybe he learned. Okay. He continued to evolve.
I guess he also can erase memories, so.
He can turn back time. So, sure.
It's different. He used his flying skills to...
It wouldn't have turned back time just because the earth rotates the other way. But so, the awning unfurls. Then he slows her down a bit more with his breath. She hits the awning, bounces onto a fruit cart, and humiliated, covered in watermelon and apples and stuff. And he moves so quickly, though, that by the time she knows what happened, Clark's leaning out of the window up in the sky. He says, Lois!
Wow.
He really doesn't want her to know. And then at some point, she says, I realize my mistake. I risked my life, not yours. And she pulls out a gun, and she shoots him because she's so confident
Holy
that
shit.
he's Superman. And so she shoots him, and he's like, what if I weren't Superman? He admits it. And he's like, what if? And then she admits it was a blank. So she didn't really shoot him, and she
Wow,
she
thank you for
fooled
this
him.
recap. What about Zod or whatever? What are they up to?
I don't. Who cares? The interesting part. I don't remember the Zod stuff. I like this part of the movie. Also, why wouldn't he have erased her mind again if he could have done that?
I guess he's like, this bitch will not stop.
Yeah, she won't let up.
Even if I fucking erase her goddamn brain.
Also, the kid going back to Niagara Falls when he falls. It's the longest fucking fall in the world.
Does he fall for like 10 minutes?
Yeah, he falls. I mean, in the whole scene, probably for a minute, but still,
Right.
that's really long because you would fall in a matter of 10 seconds. It'd be over. And then
Maybe his sister died, and so he has a death wish.
well, the last thing on this, when it's over and Superman catches him and saves him and brings the kid back up, he says, again, instead of being fucking traumatized and changed for the rest of his life, he acted like it was some little ride and he wanted to go again.
That's for the audience, so so we don't have to see his like 1,000-yard stare on an 8-year-old.
So there you go. The gravity tied in a bit there. So this man in a cave, he went spelunking and he got caught. And I mean,
He was only like 23 or 25. He's really young.
this is an older story, I know, but what a horrible, scary thing.
Not that old, but I think it was like 2012.
I watched a video of a guy going through like a tight space spelunking with a GoPro on a stick so he could hold it out a bit.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have to exhale here, else I can't fit through. I was like, my
Right.
God, why does anyone want to do this? What a horrible... One of the things, I'll let you set the rest of the story up, but just thinking about sometimes here in New York, most of the buildings on blocks are connected. There's no space in between, but every once in a while, there's a little space in between. Just enough where you could kind of fall in, and if you fell head first, you tripped off of a roof, you'd get stuck and you just hang there.
Ugh.
Yeah, and what
Is it really that tight?
yeah, sometimes. And I think about that being one of the worst things in the world. And then people purposefully putting themselves in situations like it's really tight, but I'm going to squeeze through. Fuck.
Yeah, well, part of this guy's issue was that there was this. Well, he'd turned the wrong direction. There's two sections. One is called the birth canal, which a lot of people can traverse. It's still difficult, but people can do it. But he accidentally turned the wrong direction and went into this space called like Silly Putty Canal or something. Anyway, he goes in, and part of it, he realizes that he might be in the wrong place, but he sees ahead of him that there's this little lip and it looks like an opening. So he goes through the little lip, but he has to, yeah, like you said, exhale, or, to compress his lungs to get through, to get through this little spot. And it turns out it's an opening that's just straight down and ends. So there was no way, he couldn't go forward, and then he couldn't go backwards because he was upside down. And then he couldn't get, because of the way he was hanging there, he couldn't bend his legs. Like even if someone was behind him, let's say the people that were trying to get him out, trying to pull him up, but they couldn't like get his legs to bend that direction, and then they couldn't get his like torso through that hole, back through that hole. So then, he's just like his lungs are pooling with liquid and his heart is having difficulty.
I hate this.
He's down there for hours and like 2 days maybe. I think at one point, oh my God, this is the worst part, is that at one point they pulled him out enough where they could see his face and they talked to him. And he was like, I want to get that. I just really want to get out of here. And then the pulley system, because of this rock, like who knows what kind of rock this is. It's not like solid. It was loose enough where the bolt came loose and it all failed. And he fell back into the position that was like the worst position. It was horrible.
It is horrible.
Yeah.
What an awful, and you've days to think about it and you're just there. I think they couldn't give him something injected in him and just kill him.
Well, they kept trying to solve it. They kept thinking like, well, if we break away the rock around him, and they were doing that. But then because of gravity, the rock that they were breaking away was falling down onto him.
I like that. This is what inspired gravity. You're like, I want this man, like, oh yeah, the gravity is, I know it comes into play. It's just kind of a stretch.
Yeah, I know.
And you just want to talk about this horrific story.
No, it wasn't that. I just thought, listen, everything that we talk about is born out of something that we've done or seen or thought about.
I know, it's like improv now. Give us a word. We're not going to end anywhere near it, but that's fine. I don't really care about that.
I had a good time during the show. I don't know about you.
Well, the way we're ending it, I've read this before, and they get really, I can't even articulate how it makes me feel. It's just gross, awful.
28 hours.
And he just eventually, what killed him eventually?
Well, I think that his heart stopped. So he was talking to his wife on a...
Oh my God.
On a...
This is...
Walkie-talkie.
Yeah, this is terrible.
Yeah, it is terrible. You should look it up. John Jones.
I have looked it up. I think I've read about this, but just hearing about it again. Just being stuck, having those conversations, having that much time.
Well, he was in and out at the end. And she told him, like, why don't you just rest? And then you can try again after you rest. And then he died. Which is what happens. You're given permission to die a lot of times when you're in those situations.
Well, there's so much stress, too, on your body and on your mind. But
when you're in those moments, you're not... there's part of the time when you realize and you are scared. And then once you realize... or at some point, your brain doesn't let you feel it or experience it anymore.
Even so, being trapped, not being able to
Did you
move.
watch 127 Hours?
No.
It was really interesting.
What is that one?
That's the one where he got caught his arm got caught in the cave thing.
Oh, yeah, and he had to saw it off.
Yeah.
No.
I knew all about that story beforehand and was fascinated by it. And then that movie came out. And it was really good. I really liked it. Well, it wasn't like really good. Just like, oh, wow. It's interesting.
I think I already saw that movie. It was the one with Nicolas Cage, the 9/11 movie.
What?
There was a 9/11 movie with Nicolas Cage where he was one of the firefighters in the building, or it was a cop. I forget which.
Really?
And it collapsed. It was based on a true story. A couple of guys landed in a spot where they were covered in rubble and couldn't move, but they were alive and eventually rescued. But they were just buried under all the debris.
I don't know this story at all.
So it was similar in a lot of the movie. There was more going on. I didn't see the movie with the guy with the arm, so maybe there was more to that one too than just him.
Well, you're just with the climber the entire time.
Yeah, so that's a little different than this one. It's another movie,
you
though.
Should watch it. It's interesting.
Where you're acting alone, like Sandra Bullock in Gravity.
Where was his George Clooney?
This cave thing, though, I don't know why people go in those positions even for fun. And I'm not by any means saying he put himself there, so too bad. I know that. I just don't understand why people enjoy it. I don't see what is fun about it.
I don't either.
I got through it. I squeezed through it. There's zero appeal.
Well, his brother and him were egging each other on to get into harder and harder spots in the cave.
No thanks.
So that brother should go be an astronaut.
I just saw a video, and this is probably somewhat old at this point too, but I came across it. A guy was on a boat that sunk. It capsized, sank. Maybe 11 people in the crew, or 12 counting him. Everyone else died. They sent divers down to look for the bodies. And as they're exploring the ship, they come to this area where there's an air pocket.
Yes, I've seen that.
Yeah, and the guy's there.
And it freaks the diver out. He's like, ah!
Yeah, because I think he reaches out and touches him.
Yeah.
But think about before the divers are there, complete darkness.
Ugh.
You can't see a thing. Your eyes aren't going to adjust because there's zero light. There's just no light coming in.
Ugh.
And he was at they said that 60 hours is probably the maximum of air that he had. And he was right there at the end. But again, you think about how do you get through that? You just kind of hang out until you die, I guess. So that's how you get through it. It just happens.
Well, the guys that, that ate their people when they crashed in the Andes.
Yeah.
I forget what those football people. Anyway, they said some of their thoughts were like, do I die quickly or slowly? It's like survive, die quickly or die slowly. And it's everything seems difficult.
Yeah, of course.
Impossible.
I can't imagine.
They were there for like 72 days.
I cannot imagine. I also was reading about just diving in general, which makes sense, but I never thought about that your body freaks out when you go deep underwater and you can breathe. Like it still doesn't want to breathe. And it can really go into panic mode.
I feel that way just using a snorkel.
Yeah, snorkel
right?
is...
It's weird at first.
It is weird. And it makes total sense, but I never thought about it before. But so even this guy, once they found him, getting him out, like it could have been a very difficult thing. But I think at that point, you've been through so much. Like, what the fuck? That's not going to...
Well, survival. It's all about survival. And it's an important part of your brain.
Apparently went home, though, back to his country. And I forget which one it was. But they were saying that he made a deal with the devil and black magic. And he was shunned by some people for surviving.
Stupid ass cultures.
Yeah, like
I'm sorry, that is fucking stupid.
Why did you survive? Why is everyone else dead? And then
I'm sure he already had that feeling.
I would have moved. I was like, "Fuck you, I'm out of here.
Fuck this world, I'm out of here." Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
sorry, cultural. Like you're supposed to be sensitive to all cultures. That is fucking stupid.
Well, my culture turns on me, then I don't care. Like a lot of times, people like I leave and I leave all the stuff I know and I'm used to. Like yeah, that stuff turned on me. And labeled me and the dude who made a deal with the devil. And it's like, all right, fuck you.
Yeah. Assholes.
It is insane. It is absolutely insane. Anyway, okay. So we'll see what you weigh on other planets to wrap up this show. Because gravity is different on other planets, as you know.
Oh, so I'm not going to tell you that.
Yeah, tell me your weight. Come on.
No, I'm good.
Tell me your weight.
No.
All right, I'll do mine. I'm 195 pounds, which sounds fat, but it's not. I weighed myself yesterday.
That doesn't sound fat. Under 200 doesn't seem fat at all.
200's a lot.
But also you have stone bones.
That BMI chart says I should weigh 170.
Well, that BMI chart is from the fucking 30s.
But yes.
You can kiss my ass.
I have dense bones, which is a real thing. People say I'm big boned, and people make fun of that. But it's also apparently a real thing. I weigh 195, and I'm not fat. And I've lost 5 pounds because I used to be 200. So on Mercury, I would weigh 73.7 pounds. On Venus, I would weigh 176. On the Moon, I'd weigh 32 pounds. On Mars, I'd weigh 73 pounds. On Jupiter, I weigh 492.9 pounds.
It just goes to show you how stupid this number is.
On Saturn, I'd weigh 207.4 pounds. On Uranus, 173.3 pounds. Neptune, 219.3 pounds.
Oh, so Uranus and Venus have the same, like 170? They have the same gravity?
What'd you say?
Uranus and Venus have similar gravities?
Yeah, I guess so. It's interesting, right?
Yeah, that's weird.
Since less, actually, I'd weigh less on Uranus.
But only by like a little bit.
By 3 pounds.
Yeah, it's wild.
But for the size difference, that is interesting. Maybe
what about a moon of Jupiter?
Oh, I can tell you that. Europa, I'd weigh 26 pounds. On Pluto, I'd weigh 13 pounds.
Cute.
On Io, I'd weigh 35.79 pounds. On the Sun, I'd weigh 5,279 pounds. On a neutron star, which is
Ooh.
or a white. Let's do white dwarf
Like
first.
20,000 pounds.
Yeah, white dwarf. So a sun that is collapsed on itself.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you. There's so many zeros.
Yeah.
253500000 pounds, and then on a neutron star it would be 2730000000000 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fat ass.
Yes. What a fat ass. Anyway, that's I don't have the music pulled up.
Doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-doo. Do we just end it? Thanks everybody for listening. Tell your friends about our show. Tell them you like it.
Why would you tell your weight? What does it matter?
So we can get more people.
What's the fear to telling your weight? People are going to judge you?
Yes, because I don't have a huge problem with it.
But society does.
Yeah, I feel strong. I feel good. I like my body's cool. I don't care. It's more like there's still a lot of stigma attached to a number. So
yeah, fucking society. Dudes
if
want to
it was
dance
a bunch of
with you.
women listening, I would tell them. It's fine.
Yeah, but that's you're giving guys too much power. Fuck them. I understand that. I'm not trying to get you to tell. I'm exploring the reason you won't. Fuck those dudes.
Yeah, I agree.
Those guys are fat themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
It's different. Okay.
Yeah, you're not supposed to change. Women are supposed to be young and hairless and beautiful forever.
Yeah, I can get fucking fat. Unless I'm George Clooney and I still look great. What did you...
All right, do all the things. HoffandPepper.com. One topic 15% off. Okay, bye.